The Brenton Opera House stood like a gilded monument at the heart of the city, its marble steps worn smooth by generations of patrons who had flocked there for music, scandal, and grandeur. On November 14th, the building glittered brighter than ever. Carriages rattled up to the entrance, guests in silk and velvet poured through its arched doors, and the gas lamps burned as though the city itself was holding its breath. Tonight was special. Amelia Rowe, the radiant soprano whose voice had entranced Europe, was performing her long-awaited return. For weeks, her face had adorned posters on every lamppost. The city had grown drunk with anticipation. Inside, the chandeliers shimmered over crimson velvet seats, gold filigree balconies, and a stage dressed in opulence. The orchestra tuned with nervous precision, and backstage, Amelia prepared herself. She was 30 years old, tall, with an aura that seemed to outshine the jewels at her throat. But those close enough to her that evening noticed something else, a weariness in her eyes, and the way her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her gown. The curtain rose. The overture began. When Amelia stepped into the spotlight, the hall erupted in applause. She sang with a voice so clear it silenced even the restless. Each note seemed carved in glass. And then, during her aria's climax, her voice soared one last time before faltering. She gasped, staggered, and collapsed onto the boards. For a frozen moment the audience clapped, believing it a daring act. But when the conductor dropped his baton and musicians ceased playing, panic swept the hall. Detective Daniel Mercer was among the audience, a guest of his friend in the orchestra. He rushed backstage as Amelia was carried to her dressing room. Doctors surrounded her, but it was too late. Her lips were blue, her skin ashen. "Poison," whispered one. "Fast-acting, cruel." She never had a chance. Mercer studied the room. A glass of water stood half-drunk on the vanity. Beside it lay a bouquet of roses bound with a black ribbon. Oddly, every mirror had been covered in black cloth. Amelia had insisted on it before the show, her maid explained in a trembling voice. She said her reflection mocked her, that it carried a curse. Someone frightened her, detective. Word spread like wildfire. Amelia Rowe, dead at the height of her glory. The opera house became both shrine and crime scene. Mercer began with those closest to her. Julian Cade, the baritone and Amelia's longtime partner, was quick to confess bitterness. "She took everything, every ovation, every eye turned her way. Yet I loved her once. She was fire itself. I quarreled with her, yes, but I would never." He broke off, voice thick with resentment. His fingerprints, later found faintly on her sheet music, made him an easy suspect. Helena Voss, Amelia's understudy, barely hid her envy. "Do you know what it is to live in someone's shadow? She left no roles for the rest of us." "But poison?" "No, detective. I wanted her place on the stage, not her grave." The conductor, Maestro Anton Duval, was more sorrowful. He admitted Amelia had confided her fear of being followed. She said she saw shadows in the corridors. That notes were left at her door, unsigned, obsessive. "She begged me not to speak of it, but I see now how it haunted her." The roses drew Mercer's eye. Their ribbon smelled faintly of almonds, cyanide. The same poison tainted the water glass. The ribbon also bore dusted traces of resin, the kind violinists used on their bows. Mercer turned his gaze toward the orchestra. Victor Lang, a quiet violinist, became the next subject. He lived alone, kept to himself, and few remembered speaking to him. Yet in the dark storage rooms beneath the opera, Mercer discovered a trunk of Amelia's discarded gowns and obsessive letters. "You are mine. If you will not sing for me, you will sing for no one." His obsession was clear, yet there was no proof he had touched her drink. The investigation deepened. Mercer returned to Amelia's dressing room late at night. The opera house was silent, save for the groaning timbers and rustle of curtains and drafts. There he noticed what no one had before: the music sheets on her stand bore faint smudges of poison on the final page, as though handled with tainted fingers. The fingerprints matched Julian Cade. When Mercer confronted him, Julian swore innocence. "I rehearsed with her, of course my hands touched the score, but I would never kill her. She told me herself. Someone else had her in their grip." He insisted Mercer look to the orchestra pit. The trap was set. During rehearsals for Amelia's memorial performance, Helena Voss replaced her on stage. In her dressing room, Mercer placed a decoy glass of water. He waited in the shadows. Victor Lang crept inside, his figure gaunt and trembling. From his pocket he withdrew a vial, his hands shaking as he poured its contents into the glass. Mercer stepped forward, revolver drawn. Victor froze. "She betrayed me," he whispered. "Her voice was mine alone, yet she gave it to the world. I left her roses, I begged her to see me, but she laughed, she turned away. I told her if she would not be mine, she would be no one's." He sank to his knees, weeping. "She covered the mirrors because I was always there in the reflection. She tried to hide from me, but I was patient. I gave her silence, the only note worthy of her." The trial was swift. The letters, the poison vial, and his act in the dressing room damned him beyond appeal. Victor Lang was sentenced to life imprisonment. though some whispered he had welcomed the cell as a stage of his own making. Julian Cade was acquitted but left broken by scandal. Helena Voss inherited the spotlight, though audiences whispered of her ambition and dark fortune. Maestro Duval resigned, unable to lift a baton again in the haunted house. As for Amelia Rowe, her final aria became legend. Patrons claimed her voice lingered long after the curtains fell, echoing in the rafters like a ghost. Some said they saw her silhouette in the mirrors backstage, a woman forever trapped in the moment of her last note. In his final report, Mercer wrote with uncharacteristic heaviness, "The opera is a temple to beauty, but also to envy." Amelia Rowe's gift was too bright. It drew shadows to her until they consumed her. In the end, it was not her rival nor her peer who ended her life, but an admirer she could never acknowledge. The final note of Amelia Rowe will not be remembered for the music, but for the silence that followed.